What's up? Today we're going to chop it up a little bit about the concept of patience. Patience is defined by Webster as manifesting forbearance under the provocation of strain, meaning to embody fortitude or self-control under undesirable circumstances. That's some choice terminology, right? Let that sink in a little bit, you know what I mean? Percolate your cranium. Being able to successfully wield patience is not only attractive from an external perspective, but it also significantly decreases the amount of self-inflicted stress in a non-desirable scenario. You ever try completing a difficult task once the threshold of frustration has already been met? Yeah, son, I've been working on this beat for like 12 hours, man. It's been brutal. Go ahead and export this piece real quick. File lost. What is already challenging can seem to take on the form of impossibility. And how about dealing with difficult individuals once your patience has already hit zero? You may resolve to doing or saying something that's completely absent of your actual intent. Patience plays a significant role in our ability to be reasonable when faced with pressing circumstances. With less adept patience, we run the risk of allowing our emotions to act on our behalf. Panic, anger, anxiety, aggression. These are all states that can take a hold of us in moments void of patience. When we find ourselves in said moment, wielding patience successfully increases our chances of making a decision geared towards the most desirable outcome versus making a decision that is essentially a fallout of an emotional reaction. With all that being said, and having had experienced and displayed this style of impatience firsthand, I have to ask, what is the root cause of this? Where might it be bubbling up from? The answer is right in front of you. Literally. It really only took a few passive clicks for you to find yourself here listening to me running on and on about life and stuff. That very same notion of instant gratification is promoted in almost all aspects of our modern life. Wait around downloading a movie or an album? F that. Stream that piece. Please allow 2 to 3 weeks for shipping? That. Any online shopping venue worth its salt offers next day shipping. That's right, at your front door almost immediately. Invest time and effort in scouting potential romantic partners in real life? That. There are a slew of online dating applications that can facilitate you getting your wine and dine on tonight. We live in an instant gratification culture. I'm by no means saying that this is inherently a bad thing. This is a desire that humans have had since the beginning of time. It's just nice to get things in a timely fashion. But it does unrealistically promote that same type of snappy gratification in other aspects of our lives where it shouldn't necessarily apply. The best things in life are worth waiting for. Oh. Practicing patience. The most effective methods that I've discovered as far as wielding patience to my advantage literally has nothing to do with external forces and everything to do with internal alignment. Let us assume that every scenario, be it a negative or a positive one, has a potential lesson for us to learn. Let us also assume that everything that we experience is in fact what we're intended to experience at that particular interval. Let us also absolve ourselves of the notion that things actively happen to us and try embracing the idea that things happen around us in such a way that we are in complete control of how we choose to react to them. You're a part of the moment, but the moment isn't necessarily a part of you. I found that this very simplistic shift in perspective literally changes everything. All of a sudden, I find myself rising to the challenge of resistance, as opposed to dwelling on the fact that I've encountered resistance in the first place, which for me personally is usually the cause of impatience and ultimately frustration, and ultimately a lack of performance. Who or what to blame or why certain events have been put into motion literally become irrelevant questions. The only question of ponderance is, how do I move forward? What's the next action? Fantastic! Another concept worth mentioning is that resolving to impatience and frustration when things aren't necessarily going our way is at its core a habitual occurrence. And as such, with intentional action and of course repetition, the behavioral pattern can be reformed into something more desirable. I used to experience this whenever I happened to be running late for an engagement. The only thing I hate more than people being late is when I'm late. If you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And anything after that, don't bother showing up. So, My natural instinct anytime I found myself running late was to essentially go into a frenzy. And it goes without saying that this state of frenzy really only exasperated my level of self-inflicted stress. But for some reason, this was always my resolve. After ample practice and of course many failed attempts, I was able to successfully craft a habitual behavior where instead of going into a state of frenzy, I essentially just embraced the fact that I was late and kind of just was like, well, I guess I will arrive when I was intended to arrive. Very slight shift in perspective, but it's pretty effective. For better or worse, through repetition, this is now my instinctive response to being late. At any rate, that concludes our discussion for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Thank you to Chris, Dean, and Mike for their contributions to this piece. Feel free to share your personal experiences and insight on the comment section below, and have a beautiful day.